Havaya lenegdi tamid. It's a chant we're singing this morning to open. Havaya is a word that expresses presence. Shiviti Havaya lenegdi tamid. I welcome, I invite presence to be next to me always. And then we sing Havaya, Havaya, presence, being present, God's presence, the presence of the universe. And then Ahava, 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 love. Right? So we're just welcoming in love and intention for what we want to cultivate today. Shiviti. Morning, everyone.
You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft body, animal of your body, love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
On page one, go ahead.
Please turn to page 168 for the Ashrei.
So welcome, everyone. So happy to have you joining us. Hope you slept. Hope you're ready for this day where we're just going to get more and more and more open as the hours go on, as the gates remain open. Even as they close at the end of the day, we're going to keep opening our hearts. I'm Rabbi Jenny Shaban here in our beautiful sanctuary on Hillcroft Way, joined by Lisa Zeiler, Elisheva Hervich, and in a moment you'll hear Irene Jacobson on the piano. So happy you're with us. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Hallelujah Od Hallelujah Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha On page 170, we're going to do this Psalm 150, magical words, to just lay the foundation of this morning service for us. This is Leonard Cohen's melody for Hallelujah. We're going to bring him back in a little bit. Another piece of Leonard Cohen bringing his spirit into this room when we do Unitana Tokef. But for now, we're going to use his Hallelujah as a meditation, as an intention for this psalm and for the rest of our tefillah, of our davening moving forward. You know, once we had Joey Weissenberg come out to our community, the masterful song leader, song creator, community builder, and he told us that it takes 15 times through a melody to be able to stop thinking and just feel. And we are not going to do this 15 times. However, it repeats enough that maybe this can be the moment that you can shed a little bit of what you brought with you into the service and drop a little deeper into what you hope to receive and bring into the service. It's on page 170. Time, hallelujah. Sing it out at home. Hallelujah. 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 So it's now time for junior congregation. Karen is waiting in the Zoom room for all kids that are in K through 5th grade. If you have a younger child who wants to try joining, that's great. Or an older child who wants to try joining, that's great too. It's designed for kindergarten through 5th graders, but this is an open, machzor, creative making Yom Kippur experience. Karen is masterful at guiding kids through emotional and artistic experiences. So I hope that all the kids out there will go and pop over to a different screen and go join Karen for junior congregation, and then she'll send you back to the main service to join your parents when the time is up. Thanks so much. We're going to turn to page 173. And we shift gears with Hamelech. You know, we say this text on Rosh Hashanah as well. So much of our liturgy repeats. And then there are individual things that are unique. But we also begin the main Shacharit part of the service with Hamelech and Rosh Hashanah. But it feels different on Yom Kippur than it does on Rosh Hashanah. And so I want to read something different. Shoch ein ad marom v'kadosh shemo, the translation of Shoch ein ad in this machzor is eternally present. I love that translation of one of the images that we have of God, right? We're imagining in this moment that God is sitting on a throne, which can be kind of an imposing way to imagine the source of the universe, sitting on a throne. But this translation is eternally present, eternally able to be with us. That's the presence that's sitting on the throne. So this is a poem called Time. We use it, wisely or not. We fill it and mark it. We try to stop it, but there's no end to it. And yet, we never have enough. It is a circle and it is a line, moving forward day by day, year by year. We come round and round again. Again the spring, again the fall, but every leaf a new one, every fall a new shape falling. Always starting, never finished. We live always in the between. No time, we say. We have no time. Yet we have all the time in the world. And there is no time like now.
תשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חיי העולמים.
Page 176. Please rise in body or spirit for the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי. וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש מרבה מברך לעלם, ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לילה ולילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד. אור עולם ביוצר חיים, אורות מאופל, אמר ויהי.
You may be seated on page 181.
Like an unbroken current, energy streams from the source, bathing the planet in light, calling forth life, movement, mind unfolding from matter, the power to love. And we offer it back to you, our own creative energy, ever dreaming, building, shaping patterns out of chaos, searching out light in the darkness. Creation never ceases, not for an instant. All life is aglow in your light. All things draw sustenance from the source. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'orot. We turn now to page 182 and begin 7 lines down with Avinu Ha'av.
Avinu Ha'avarachaman, Ha'merachem Erachem, Rachem Aleinu. Avinu Ha'avarachaman, Ha'merachem Erachem, Rachem Aleinu. V'ten b'libenu, b'libenu lehavin, lehavin ulehaskil. V'ten b'libenu, b'libenu lehavin, lehavin ulehaskil. Lishmoa, lilmod ulelamed, lishmor ולעשות ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך, תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והערנו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ולירוא את שמך, ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא פתחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem emet.
We continue on page 196.
מי כמוך בעדים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורות תהילות, אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, לשמחה על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו, ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופתח נאומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 198. We're going to begin the Tefillah. We're going to do this Tefillah, the opening out loud, and then we'll have a seat for Unitana Tokef.
Tefillah, standing before God. In the depths of night, by the edge of the river, Jacob was left alone. In heartfelt longing in the temple of God, Hannah uttered her prayer alone. In the barren wilderness, in doubt and despair, Elijah found God alone. On the holiest day, in the Holy of Holies, the high priest entered alone. We are bound to one another in myriad ways, but each soul needs time to itself. In solitude, we meet the solitary one. Silence makes space for the still small voice. For the psalmist says, deep calls unto deep. From the depths of our soul, we seek what is most profound.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Mekonei HaKol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה בספר החיים למען אלוהים חיים מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה שופי חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה מי כמוך אל הרחמים זוכה יצוריו לחיים ברחמים ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי
May be seated on page 208. We're going to continue now with the Unitana Tokef, this deep and difficult text that we have to come back to year after year, that speaks of the fate of human beings this year. It's a hard text to approach. It's a hard text to understand. And on Yom Kippur morning, we like to turn to the poetry of Leonard Cohen to help us get there. If there's one thing that we've learned in this experience of COVID-19, can speak for myself, is that as much as we think that we can control everything in our lives, that our sense of order and our sense of calm is based on our ability to be able to control the events as they unfold in our lives, that just isn't true. 2020 has shown us over and over again that we must surrender. No matter what you believe about fate, the truth is we do not know what comes this year. We don't know who's going to live and who's going to die and how those lives are going to look or how those deaths are going to look. And so our job is to surrender to life and to live it fully. And our job is to respond appropriately and with as much grace and compassion as we can with whatever is thrown our way. So we're going to begin with Unitana Tokef on page 208, and then we will move into the Leonard Cohen after that.
Unitana Tokef Kedusha Hayom Ki hu nora ve'ayom Uvo tinaseh malchutecha ve'yikon bechesed kisecha ve'teishem alav emet ki ata hu dayan u'mochiach v'yodea moed v'chotem v'sofer oneh v'tizkor kol hanishkachot v'tiftach et sefer hazikronot v'tiftach et sefer hazikronot ותספור ותמנה ותפקוד נפש כל חי ותחתוך קצבה לכל בריאה ותכתוב את גזר דינם. בראש השנה ייכתבון וביום צום כיפור ייכתבון בראש השנה ייכתבון וביום צום כיפור and who by fire, who by water, who in the sunshine, who in the nighttime, who by high ordeal, and who by common trial, who in your merry, merry month of May, and who by very slow decay, and who shall I say is calling? Kama yavrun v'chama yibareun mi yichye u'mi yamut. Rosh Hashanah ייכתבון ובيום צום כיפור ייכתבון בראש השנה ייכתבון ובيום צום and who in her lonely slip, who by barbiturate, who in these realms of love, who by something blunt, and who by avalanche, who by powder, who for his greed, and who for his hunger, and who shall I say is calling? Mi vekitzo, mi lo vekitzo, mi va'esh u'mi va'mayim, mi va'cherev u'mi va'chaya, mi va'rav u'mi va'tzama, mi va'rash u'mi va'magefa, mi va'chanika u'mi va'sekila. Rosh Hashanah ייכתבון וביום צום כיפור ייכתבון בראש השנה And who by brave ascent, who by accident, who in solitude, who in this mirror, who by his lady's command, who by his own hand, who in mortal chains, who in power, and who shall I say is calling mi anuach umi anuach mi ashkit umi yetoraf mi shalev umi yityaser mi ani umi yashir mi ushpal umi arum uteshuva utefila utsedaka avirin et roa
On page 218, we're going to continue with the Kedusha, this expression where we imitate the angels. We rise on our toes. We imagine that we can take flight on this day. If you are able, please rise to join us for the Kedusha. When it's finished, I'm going to invite you to finish silently, always, as always, whatever that means to you. Maybe it's just quietly listening to what you're meant to hear. Maybe it's a fervent prayer. Maybe it's Hebrew and diving into that text. Maybe it's poetry. Whatever it is, it's your own tefillah. As we read earlier, it's the moment that we're alone in our own silent spaces. Page 218.
Kaddish et shimecha ba'olam, Kaddish et shimecha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto bishmei marom. Kakatuv al yad neviyecha, v'karazeh el zeh lehamar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech haaretz kevodo. Adir, Adirenu, Adir, vador nagid godlecha ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu mepinu lo yamush leolam va'ed ki el melech gadol ve'kadosh ata. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid godlecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatcha nakdish. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid godlecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatcha nakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed, ki el melech gadol, ki el melech gadol, v'kadosh ata. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid godlecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatcha nakdish. Baruch atah
Good Yontif. Whether you are guests of B'nai Tikvah or members here today, we are so pleased that you are joining us to observe these days of awe together. Ma tovu, how lovely are your tents. This prayer, sung at Sunday school Tefillah, Nishma, and Shabbat morning services, allows us to deeply thank God and acknowledge our sacred space and recognize the importance of our communal places of worship. These ancient and powerful words are carved onto our sanctuary doors. I love that one of the first things that we do when entering our sanctuary is revel in the beauty of our sacred space and distinguish it from otherwise ordinary space. I've been thinking about Ma Tovu a lot lately, of course, because we have been kept physically distanced, not only from each other, but from our own CBT tent as well. When I was allowed to enter our sanctuary for the very first time, after many months, my breath was just taken away by the sheer beauty and power. There are very few places that can settle my soul like the beauty of our sanctuary, our tent. But what shelter in place has taught us, and Rabbi Shaban and Elisheva, is that we have the ability to make any space sacred. All it takes is a bit of intention and a little ingenuity. And for all of the ways that we have modified our participation with CBT, and Zoom is a powerful new technology that allows us to still connect with congregants, many long to be able to see each other in person again, to relish in the three-dimensionality of our experience, to hear ourselves surrounded in song, maybe to enjoy an Oneg Shabbat again. I long for that too. What we know now is that when we are finally allowed to gather, the process will happen slowly and in stages. We know that smaller outdoor services with appropriate distancing will be the first gatherings allowed. At CBT, we are so very lucky because we have the most beautiful space for that, our amphitheater. The origins of our beloved amphitheater go back to Rabbi Asher, when he had a grand vision to expand our places of worship and friendship to the great outdoors. This beautiful space was designed by one of our congregants who managed to nestle it into our hillside. The effort came to fruition thanks to the generosity of several congregants. In Elul, 25 years ago, our amphitheater was dedicated with the inscription, "Let the heavens be glad and the earth rejoice." To this day, we appreciate this gift, and we can sit in the shade of our iconic oak in the usual temperate climate and gather and pray. We have recently held a wedding where the branches and dappled sunlight served as a chuppah. We have several B'nai Mitzvah that are scheduled for upcoming months. The amphitheater is also a perfect place for committee meetings, services, meditation, and other gatherings. Our amphitheater is a lovely extension of our CBT tent, but our tent needs some help. We have many broken benches. We need to upgrade our amphitheater to ADA standards so that all can comfortably join. And if we are going to continue to Zoom our services, our Mishkan needs electricity and bandwidth. There are other safety improvements that are needed within our building as well. Additionally, most of you know that the money that we raised from our dues, membership dues, does not cover our operating expenses, and we must continue to find ways of bridging that gap. Some generous congregants have seen those needs and have gotten together to pledge $20,000 in a matching grant to help our operating budget and help grade our amphitheater and building so that when allowed, we will be able to safely return and enjoy our tent. I urge you to join in this effort in whatever way that you can. In your lovely and very fun High Holiday bags, you will find a pledge card, just like you have in years past, with pledge levels and tabs, just like before. Please turn down your tab or fill in any amount and return it to CBT. Or if you would rather, you can contact the temple office with your pledge. We will be providing tender, loving care and rejuvenating our gathering places in ways that will serve our community for years to come. It is crazy to think that it has taken a global pandemic for us to think of this. But until the time that we can meet together in whatever circumstances that we can, we will continue to do what we do best in Zoom and on Facebook. One can truthfully say that our CBT tent has extended into our living rooms. Isn't that remarkable? We continue to bring programs several times a week. Besides Shabbat, Zoom and Zen, Lunch and Learn, our Social Action Committee has remained active, helping with blood and food drives. Our community has raised over $14,000 in hundreds of pounds of food for the Monument Crisis Center. Our sisterhood is holding book group, discussing works that are relevant to our times, playing mahjong, and will be holding their annual meeting on October 18th. We have had panel discussions and even a movie screening. Torah meditation, healing meditation, and classes for the high holidays have all been offered. And do you realize that CBT has been attracting record numbers of people participating in services and programs? That is because we have been providing a powerful way of connection in our isolated circumstances. We have heard over and over again how grateful people are for everything that we are doing in this difficult and challenging time. The clergy and staff of CBT have been steady and unwavering in the support of our congregants and our entire community. This is a time, if there ever was such a time, to lean in and show your support of CBT and continue the commandment of Lador Vador. At CBT, we have built a beautiful tent, the building crafted with love and devotion, the walls filled with the mosaic of our congregants and the beauty of their song. Matovu indeed. I will leave you with the words that I have recently heard from one of our beloved members. My God, CBT, this community, has taken a punishment and turned it into glory. Shana Tova, may 5781 be a year of health and peace for all our world, you and yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Judith Barral, the president of our beloved CBT community, for those wonderful words, inspiring words, true words about all that is possible when good souls come together. We're going to continue on page 252 with Avinu Malkeinu. How is it going to be different this time for you? Right? Each time we approach the liturgy, it's the same, but we change. Time of day, circumstances. So how is it different this morning from last night? What do you feel? What calls to you? Please rise in body or spirit, 252 and 253.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu v'aneinu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Asay manu tzedaka v'chesed. Asay manu tzedaka v'chesed ve'oshienu.
Keeping the ark open, we're going to move right into In Kamocha in the opening of the Torah service on page 255.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך. מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אב הרחמים, היטיבה ברצונך את ציון. תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבנה חומות ירושלים. כי בך לבד פתחנו, מלך אל רם ונישא, אדון עולמים. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים, ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון בפשע וחטא ונקה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
אחד אלוהינו, גדול אדוננו, קדוש ונורא שמו.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'Norah Shemo.
גדול אדוני איתי, ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד. כי הוא בשמיים ובארץ, כי הוא בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה והמתנשא לכל ראש. רוממו, רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, והשתחוו להדום רגליו. קדוש הוא, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו.
If you're still standing, please have a seat. We've arrived at the top of the mountain at the Torah reading. It's a funny thing. You never know what your peak is going to be. But really, bringing out the Torah, this sacred book of ours, and imagining Moses receiving it at the top of Sinai, that is certainly, if not the, one of our peak destinations for the morning, not necessarily for the whole day. So let's just talk a little Torah about what's happening here before we have our aliyot. So we're in Parshat Nitzavim, in Deuteronomy, the very end of the Torah. And we actually just read it a few weeks ago on Shabbat, and now here we are again at Nitzavim. We're going to be reading, when we get there, on page 266. And it's this famous passage where Moses, and it actually echoes what Judith said, where Moses is talking about this Torah that he's leaving with the Israelites that God gave to him, and Moses is about to die, and he's leaving the Torah with the Israelites, the Torah of his heart, the Torah that he was given from God. And he says, it's not in the heavens, this gift, this relationship to Torah, this holiness, that we should ask, who can go and get it for us? It's not up there. And it's not beyond the sea that we need to ask, who can cross over and impart it to us? Right? The holiness isn't a boat ride away. It's right here. It's within us. And I was thinking that that's so very true this year. We've had to create sanctuaries in our own homes. We've had to believe that we have the capacity to be able to create holiness where we are, and to imagine and kind of drink from the holiness that all the people that we know are creating from their homes. It's like we have a constellation of people that are all connected in these sanctuaries that we're creating together. And it also is one of the things that I love so much about Judaism, is that there's no hierarchy, right? This place is no more holy than any other place. There's no priest above anybody else. Everyone has equal access to all that we offer. So Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, he offers these words about Nitzavim, about this Torah portion. What Moses meant in those extraordinary words, it is not in heaven, nor is it beyond the sea, was, Kinderlach. Your parents trembled when they heard the voice of God at Sinai. They were overwhelmed. They said, if we hear any more, we will die. So God found ways in which you could meet God without being overwhelmed. God is the voice you hear in the silence of the soul. God is the light you see when you open your eyes to wonder. God is the hand you touch in the pit of despair. God is the breath that gives you life. That's the blessing of this Torah portion this year, as you create holiness in your own home and you drink from this well of holiness that we're going to be offering. You have all that you need right where you are. So once again, we had brave and magnificent congregants who came early to record their aliyot of Torah so that we could have them and their beautiful voices and spirits. So the first aliyah this morning is going to be chanted by Chana Rezel bat Esther, Ta'amod, Chana Rezel bat Esther la'aliyah rishona. Cookie Svingos is going to chant our first aliyah, and Hillary Friedman is going to be chanting from the scroll.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Aten nitzavim hayom kulechem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. Rashechem shivtechem ziknechem v'shotrechem kol ish Yisrael. Tapchem neshechem vegerecha asher b'cheref machanecha mechotev etzecha ad she'ev memecha le'avrecha bivrit Adonai Elohecha uvalato asher Adonai Elohecha koreti mecha hayom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torat emet b'chayei olam nata b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher Koach. Let's hear it all the way far away. Yasher Koach. For the beautiful aliyot, the beautiful brave Torah chanting. Our second aliyah is going to begin at verse 12 on 266. Anna Corwin and David McGarrion will have the aliyah this morning, and Jenny Michelson will be chanting from the scroll.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol va'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Leman hakimotcha hayom lo leam. Vehu yihye lecha lelohim kasher diber lach וכאשר נשבע לאבותיך, לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב. ולא אתכם לבדכם, אנוכי כורת את הברית הזאת ואת העלה הזאת. כי את אשר ישתו פה עמנו עומד היום לפני אדוני אלוהינו, ואת אשר עינינו פה עמנו היום.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu et Torah emet v'chaim olam natan v'torenu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Yasher koach, friends. Beautiful, beautiful. Ta'amdu tzipora v'kadun gittel bat shena mitzvi le'aliyah shlishit. For the third aliyah, Zaffi Welch and Kathy Weiner and Mary Akocha is going to be chanting from the scroll, and this is going to be found on the following page. We're going to jump to verse 11. And Mary has this famous passage. So if you've never read it from the actual Torah text, starting at verse 11, this is where this poetic passage about the sea and the heavens, right here, verse 11.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
Amen. Ki hamitzvah hazot asher anochi mitzavecha hayom lo niflet hi mimcha velo rechoka hi lo vashamayim hi lemor mi ya'ale lanu hashamayma vayikache halanu ve'yashmi'enu ota ve'na'asena velo me'ever layam hi lemor mi ya'avalanu el ever hayam vayikache halanu ve'yashmi'enu ota ve'na'asena ki karov elecha hadavar meod beficha uvilvavecha la'asoto.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'haye olam natan betoheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
Amen, amen, Yasher koach. Beautiful chanting. Continuing on, verse 15. On page 267, Ya'amdu Yisrael Chana bat Meir Avram Udavora ve'Elimelech Yehuda ben Mordechai la'aliyah revi'it. For the fourth aliyah, I'd like to call Jen Leeds and Rob Hess and Allison Trules will be chanting from the scroll.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Re natati את החיים ואת הטוב, ואת המוות ואת הרע. אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו. והיית ורבית וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה ושמה לרשתה. ואם יפנה לבבך ולא תשמע ונדקת והשתחווית לאלוהים אחרים ועבדתם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher Koach, everyone. Beautiful. For our fifth and final aliyah, Ya'amod Samech ben David v'Rivka la'aliyah chamishit. For our final aliyah, I'd like to call Sai Laporte to recite the blessings and
Baruch es Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
אמן. הגדתי לכם היום, כי אבות תאבדון, לא תאריכון ימים על האדמה, אשר אתה עובר את הירדן, לבוא שמה לרשתה. העידותי בכם היום, את השמיים ואת הארץ, החיים והמוות, נתתי לפניך, הברכה והקללה, ובחרת בחיים, למען תחיה אתה וזרעך, לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, לשמוע בקולו ולדבקו, כי הוא חייך באורך ימיך, לשבת על האדמה, אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך, לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב, לתת להם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher notan lanu Torah emes, v'chayei olam nota b'sochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher Koach. Thank you so much to Joel Gus for chanting from the scroll so beautifully. Yasher Koach Sai. We're going to just cover the Torah for a moment so we can bring in some healing. Reciting Misha Berach for those in our community who are in need of healing. I have the list that we've been compiling over these many months, and if you have names that you'd like to add that I don't say, feel free to just say them out loud, or you can put them into the chat if you want other people to see them. on this Yom Kippur day. We're thinking of Susanna Wilkinson, Aviva Leah, Yetta Hurwitz, Borachle Ben Kashabella, Tom Ramsdell, David Connor, Susan Wisnadell, Harry Wittenberg, Spencer, Iris Kaplan, Malkalea Bat Matilda, Rosalie Weiner, Stephen Cavalier, Josh Hurrend, Sophie Wasson, Stan Hurwitz, Pam Kleeman, Robert Schwartz, Steve Wolf, Leslie McDonald, Stanley Franklin, Malka Batchaim Veadina, Marie Del Marl, Tiffany Casimir, Jeff Price, David Cohen, Liba Cooperman, Eileen Klatsky, Brandon Verona, Sarah Romov, and Avraham Ben Yaakov Rivka. It's a lot of people just in our own community, and there are obviously so many more that we don't know of, so we're going to open our hearts and invite in the Misha Beirach and offer up the benefit of this experience that we get to have together for the healing of all those who need it.
Misha Beirach, Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Yivarech, Mirapei, et HaCholim. Amen. I'm going to call upon Dan Laporte to do our Hagva and Glila, our lifting and our dressing. Call upon, pre-recorded call upon. We'll be dressing the Torah here while that happens. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Di-di-da-nai, da-nai, dai, da-da-nai, da-nai, dai, ai, dai, da-nai, dai, ai, da-na-nai, dai, da-da-nai, da-nai, dai, ai, dai, da-nai, dai, an-nai, da-nai, dai, ai, da-na-nai, dai, ai, dai, da-nai, dai, an-na-nai, da-dai, dai, ai, dai, da-nai, dai, ai, da-na-nai, yai, dai, 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 yai, dai, 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 lai, dai, 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 yai, dai, 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 ay, yai, yai, an-nai, da-nai, dai, an-nai, da-nai, dai, an-nai, da-nai, dai, dai, da-na-nai, dai, ai, dai, da-nai, dai, di-da-nai, da-nai, dai, yai, dai, da-nai, dai, ai, dai, 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 dai. Yasher Koach. Thank you so much, Dan, for a beautiful Hakbah, as always. So it's time for Haftarah, and Tina Eisenman, our B'nai Mitzvah coordinator and tutor and beautiful Torah and Haftarah chanter, came and pre-recorded our Haftarah. And I just want to point out, it's on page 277. In years past, a few times, we've done kind of a simultaneous Hebrew chanting and English reading of the text, which is a very interesting mental and spiritual experience. And I want to invite you, if you're at home and following along, to consider quietly reading along the English while you're listening to the Hebrew being chanted. It really brings the text to life. But in particular, I want to draw your attention to verses 5 through 9 or 10. Because I think these words can really help people who struggle with the suffering aspect of Yom Kippur, right? That we're fasting and we're not kind of taking care of our bodies in this effort to imagine that we're at the end of life and what questions would be asked at the end of life. And I think people mistake that for suffering, that we're meant to suffer or punish ourselves today. And this Haftarah from Isaiah spells it out really clearly. Isaiah says, "Is this the fast I desire, to afflict your body and soul? Are you supposed to beat up on yourself? Do you think that's going to make the world any better?" He says, no, that's not the fast. What we're supposed to be doing today is fixing ourselves so that we can go out and fix the world. We go deep inside because the world needs us so badly. It's to break the bonds of injustice, to let the oppressed go free, to share our food with people who don't have it. And if we do that, verse 9, when you call, Adonai will answer. When you cry, God will respond, Hineni, here I am. Then your light shall shine through the darkness and your night become bright as noon. Right? So if you ever dip into that place of wondering, why do we do this thing that's so hard? This is why we do it. The prophet is reminding us it's not about us. It's taking away the things we normally cling to so that we can go to a deeper place, so that we can finish this experience today and go out and try to make the world better, because my God, does it need it. So the Haftarah is on page 277. I invite you to follow along.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzav divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Kara v'garon al tachsoch, kashofar harem kolecha, v'haged li'ami pisam, uvat Yaakov chatotam, v'oti Yom Yom Yidroshun V'dat Rachai Yechpatsun Kegoy Asher Tzedakasa Umishpat Elohav Lo Azav Yishaluni mishpatei tzedek, kirvat Elohim yechpatsun. lama tsamnu velo raita, ininu nafshenu velo teda. Hein miyom tzomchem timtzu chefetz, v'chol atzvechem tingosu. Hein liriv u'matzah tatsumu, ul hakot be'egrof resha, lo tatsumu chayom, lehashmiya bamarom kolchem. Hachazeh yetzom evchareu yom anot adam nafsho al chof ke'agmon rosho v'sak ve'efa yatzia halazeh tikratzom v'yom ratzon ladonai halazeh tzom evcharehu pateach hartzupot resha hateragudot motah vishalach ritzutzim chofshim b'chol motah tnateku. Halo faros lara'av lachmecha v'anihim mirodim tavivayit ki tireh aron v'chisito umibsarcha lo titalam. Azibaka kashachar orecha baruchatcha mehera titzmach ve'halach lefanecha tzidkecha kevod Adonai yasfecha. Az tikra v'Adonai yaneh tishava v'yomar hineni im tasir mitocha motah shelach etzba v'daber aven v'tafek l'ra'ev nafshecha v'nefesh nanan tisabiyah v'sarach b'choshech orecha v'afel techa katzaharayim v'nachach Adonai tamid v'hispia b'tzachtzachot nafshecha v'atzmotecha yachalitz v'hayita kegan raveh uchmotza hamayim asher lo yechazvu memav uvanu mimcha charvot olam mosde dor vador tikomem v'kora lecha godeh peretz mishovev netivot lashavet im tashiv mishapat raglecha asot chafsecha B'yom kodshi v'karata l'shabat oneg likdosh Adonai mechubad v'chibato me'asot dirachecha mimtzo cheftecha v'daber davar az titanan bel Adonai v'hirkavticha b'mate haaretz v'hikalticha nachalat Yaakov avicha ki Adonai diber Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim Tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'neman, ha'omer v'yoseh, ha'mdaber u'mkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah v'al ha'vodah v'al hanviim v'al yom ha'kippurim hazeh. Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu limchila v'lislicha u'chafara lechavod ultifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvarchim otach yitbarach shimcha B'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed udvarcha emet v'kayam lad Baruch atah Adonai melech mochel v'soleach lavonotenu ve'lavonot Amo Beit Yisrael Uma'avir Ashmotenu Bechol Shana V'Shana Melech al Kol Haaretz Mekadesh Yisrael Melech al Kol Haaretz Mekadesh Yisrael Melech al kol haaretz, Mikadesh Yisrael, V'yom HaKippurim.
Amen. Tina, thank you so much. That was absolutely beautiful, beautiful expression of that Haftarah. I want to invite Katie and Lori Albert Siegel to offer this beautiful interpretation of a Walt Whitman poem called I Hear America Singing, this cry out to God, expression of what we most desire.
I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman, adapted by Beth Schaefer. I hear America singing, the very carols I hear, the teacher driving through the neighborhood of her students with signs that they are missed and adored, and the children's laughter and excitement filling the air in response. The parent who never clocks out, caring for family and work, exhaling audibly and giving thanks to have made it through another relentless day. The healthcare worker who masked and covered in tones comfort and compassion with her eyes. The hum of essential service workers who risk their lives to keep the momentum of ours from faltering.
I hear America singing through cries of pain and illness, anxiety and isolation, but more loudly do I hear the echoes chanting, "You are not alone, you are loved." I hear America singing, despite the pandemic that saturates the news, the songs of justice and righteousness in the face of equality. I hear America singing, despite the artificial boundaries that separate us, for the spirit knows no boundaries, the soul transcends. I hear you singing, my nation, my beloved congregation, do not cease, for we are heard in the heart and heard in the heavens. Ours is a song that cannot be silenced. It is music that cannot and will not die, a prayer that despite the heaviness of our days will forever rise.
A prayer for Israel. My God, Eli, in this sacred moment, give us hope for Israel and her future. Renew our wonder at the miracle of the Jewish state. In the name of the pioneers who made the desert bloom, give us the tools to cultivate a diversity of Jewish expression in Israel. In the name of our fallen soldiers, give us the courage to stand up to the words and ways of zealots. Those in our midst and those among our neighbors, in the name of Israeli inventors who have amazed the world with their innovations, help us apply the same ingenuity to finding a path for peace. In the name of all these individuals, give us the strength to conquer doubt and despair in Israel, replacing doubt with action, replacing despair with hope. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. We're going to put the Torah back in the ark. If you are able, please rise. Yehadedu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav Shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tehila lechol chasidav, Lifnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Eitz chaim hi, lama chazikim ba. Please be seated. We're going to continue on page 296. It's another vidui. Here we go. Another Ashamnu. Another chance to be present. I have a yoga teacher years ago who said there are two states of being: attention and distraction. That's it. There's actually no such thing as multitasking. It just means you're paying attention to nothing. The Ashamnu really asks us to pay attention. All of today does. But as we ask for forgiveness, I want to share these words from Rabbi Alan Liu. He's talking about when Moses is pleading to know God's name, to see God's face, to have some understanding of who God is. Show me what you are like. Moses pleads with God, and God complies. My name is Yud He Vav He. I am El Rachum V'Chanun, gracious and compassionate. I am forgiveness itself. This is the very meaning of my name, God is saying, Yud He Vav He, the verb to be in the present tense. I am absolute presence, that aspect of the universe that accepts and forgives.
Tafalnu Saranu, Avinu, Pashanu, Saranu, Kishinu Ore. משפטיך הטובים ולא שבה לנו ואתה צדיק על כל הבא עלינו כי אמת עשית ואנחנו הרשענו. We're going to move now into the communal confession. If you never joined us for Yom Kippur before, for one of the recitations of the Vidui, we ask our own community to send in their own regrets, anonymously, the things that they want to say out loud and not keep hidden in a cage in their heart that has been burdening them this year. So people sent them in anonymously, and we compiled them anonymously. And instead of the text in the book, we're going to share these today. The ways we have wronged you by not believing ourselves worthy of love.
And the ways we have wronged you by not living fully and taking care of our bodies.
The ways we have wronged you by ignoring our inner voices, spiraling into self-doubt and causing harm to others.
and the ways we have wronged you by trusting fear over you, Adonai our God.
The ways we have wronged you by not telling the truth.
And the ways we have wronged you by not being present with our families during shelter in place.
The ways we have wronged you by escaping to our phones and continuing to cultivate our relationships with harmful media platforms.
And the ways we have wronged you by yelling at our children.
The ways we have wronged you by saying things to our partners that were meant to hurt.
And the ways we have wronged you by not being able to let go of anger at people who caused us tremendous pain years ago.
The ways we have wronged you by allowing our personal privilege to prevent us from fighting against systemic racism and hatred in our country.
And the ways we have wronged you by harboring hateful, vengeful, unforgiving thoughts against people with opposing political opinions from our own.
For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
The ways we have wronged you by being impatient, self-punishing, and judgmental.
And the ways we have wronged you by not making time for a friend who is now dying.
The ways we have wronged you by not believing in you as kind, wise, and a compassionate God because our faith has been shattered.
And the ways we have wronged you by holding on to a lifetime of guilt for not protecting our sibling from childhood abuse and trauma.
The ways we have wronged you by not being inclusive to our friends at school.
And the ways we have wronged you by forgetting to be grateful and humble.
The ways we have wronged you by not putting faith and prayer at the center of our lives.
And the ways we have wronged you by imagining that we are in control of our lives, our communities, and the world.
The ways we have wronged you by feeling resentful of our household responsibilities.
And the ways we have wronged you for eating too much ice cream during shelter in place.
The ways we have wronged you by being self-absorbed, self-centered, and insensitive to others.
And the ways we have wronged you by being envious and resentful of others' wealth and success rather than grateful for all that we have.
For all these failings of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, salach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. My dad used to tell a joke about Morris Goldberg, who went to his rabbi around this time of year, lamenting that Yom Kippur would fall exactly on the same day as the last game of the World Series. "Do you have a VCR?" asked the rabbi. And Morris replied in astonishment, "You mean I can record services?" That used to be a funny joke. A year ago, many of us had not imagined streaming Yom Kippur services online, being at home in front of our screens. On this of all days, we show up in our community, wearing white, seeing friends, praying together. A year ago, many did not imagine that we could be moved by our rabbis davening while we were on our computers. We didn't know that we could feel close and connected even when we're not in the same room. And yet, here we are, connected. A folk tale for our times. Once there was a woman who lived in a small house with her partner and children. Their house seemed small, but the family fit contentedly. And then they had to shelter in place. What was once a dining table became an office and a part-time classroom. What was once a living room became a gym, yoga studio, and a second classroom. The dishes piled high, second only to a bottomless laundry basket. Her kids argued with each other and needed more of her time. Her partner needed more space. She needed more time and more space. So, looking for something to ease her spirit, she sought the counsel of her rabbi. The rabbi suggested that they get a dog. A dog, she thought? Yes. So the family got a dog. It was very cute. It lifted their spirits. It got them out of the house. But the dog chewed on table legs and the kids' toys, the shoes, workbooks, computer cords. And feeling again the chaos of it all, the woman returned to her rabbi for some relief. "Get a bird," the rabbi suggested. "A bird?" Okay, she got a bird. The bird was beautiful. It sang nicely and a lot. It sat in a cage in the former dining room, singing, squawking as the kids did the work. And it was not exactly soothing, peaceful, or calm. In the folk tale, the woman again reaches out to the rabbi, who tells her to get a chicken, a goat, a cow. The chaos and the mess get worse until finally the rabbi suggests that she take the dog, the bird, the cow, and the goat out of the house. And then, when it's just a small house and the children and the grown-ups, very familiar, and now tranquil. So what's the message of this story, and why would I choose this to share on this, the holiest of days? This is a story about stretching. Just when we thought we had reached our limit, something comes to stretch us more. That terrible virus that came to our region, it would have been enough. Dayenu. Schools closing. Dayenu. Sheltering in place. Dayenu. Riots. Dayenu. Climate change. Fires. Smoke and more smoke. Dayenu. And RBG dying just 10 days ago. This is the dog and the bird, the goat and the cow. How much can we stretch? 7 weeks ago, just as I was starting my rabbinical internship here at B'nai Tikvah, the rabbi texted to see if I was going to join my very first staff meeting. And I texted back, no. I was in the emergency room with my 8-year-old son. It's not a place I want to be, particularly at this time of coronavirus. But my son had been really, really ill for 3 days. I thought they'd fix him up, give us some medicine, send us home in a few hours. So you might imagine my shock when after a few hours, the doctor came to tell me that my son's blood sugar level was near 900. He was being sent to the pediatric ICU, where we would spend the next week learning about type 1 diabetes. And for the rest of his life, my son will need insulin injections to stay healthy. The dog, the bird, the goat, the cow. The story is a story about gratitude. Think back a year ago. Remember last Yom Kippur? Maybe you were racing to finish dinner in time to drive to shul and find your seat. Maybe you got there and forgot your glasses. Do you remember back when we had to sit in traffic? When the gym was too crowded? When we had to wait to be seated in a restaurant? Or the performance you wanted to see was already sold out? Remember those days? Did you feel gratitude standing in line then at Pete's and eavesdropping on the people around you? Or what about gratitude to run in and out of the grocery store easily? The story is a story about gratitude, a reminder to be grateful for what we have, for our homes, our beds, for internet connections, for working refrigerators, for clean air, for health, and for each other. For this opportunity to be together, even through our screens, this is a reminder not to take our lives for granted. This is also a story about taking action to improve our situation. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. Our nation has erupted again in cries to end racial injustice, and we have to reckon with the systemic racism. Many who have benefited from the color of their skin are committed to waking up and to seeking justice. Many are reading White Fragility, My Grandmother's Hands, How to Be an Anti-Racist. As a congregation at B'nai Tikvah this summer, we watched 13th together, and we began community conversations about race and Jewish values. As Rabbi Shaban shared in a Rosh Hashanah drash, 12 to 15% of us in the Jewish community are Jews of color. While I pass for white, I come from people who have been marginalized and oppressed. While some of my people pass for white on the outside, many of us feel Jewish on the inside, and Jewish in a way that knows injustice, that pushes us to fight for a better world, no matter what the color of our skin. And I'll admit, I feel scared sometimes. I feel scared for our country. I feel scared for my freedom. I've found myself raging at the news. I have yelled so harshly at my child. I am scared of the inner rage and hatred I have found rising in myself. I'm scared of being part of the division of this nation. This year, more than ever before, have I felt the potency of our liturgy. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness and violence and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. These words have not changed, but we have. And we're not alone. The Torah teaches that we cannot stand idly by while there is suffering in the world. And Yom Kippur calls us to wake up, to take responsibility, and to make changes. And we do not have to do this alone. On this holy day, we stand together. Yes, even through the screens. We shout out loud together. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ashamnu. We have abused. Bagadnu. We have betrayed. Gazalnu. We have disappointed. Dibarnu dofi. We chant this together as a collective we, not alone, not as an I. Collectively, we acknowledge that we bear responsibility for the wrongs of the world and for fixing of them. Many of us beat our breast. We beat ourselves literally. Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalami taught me to be gentle, to have compassion, to rub and console my heart in this time of confession. We are stretching together, friends, witnessing, showing compassion, lifting each other up. This year we have collectively had to change our ways, adapt to new patterns of living, witness what was once normal being stretched and stretched again. Like the family in the folktale, we are being stretched beyond what we thought we could bear, masking, washing, keeping a distance, changing our plans. We are sheltering and staying away from friends and family. We're registering to vote by mail. We are mourning. We're in a liminal time, both here now on Yom Kippur and in this in-between, the world before COVID and the world that will be when we reemerge. Rabbi Lori Shapiro suggests that we are dwelling in the white space, in the in-between. She says, it is within this space that we make meaning of the time, in this in-between. So how will we make meaning of this quarantine? And why am I asking you this on this Yom Kippur morning? Yom Kippur invites us to face ourselves, to stand before the open ark, before the Torah and before our beloved leaders, to bare our souls and cry out loud, confessing our misdeeds, praying to realign ourselves. On Yom Kippur, we stand before our Creator, before God. Martin Buber taught in his book, I and Thou, that God is the electricity surging between two people when they relate to each other authentically and humanely. God dwells in this in-between, in relationships. God happens here on this Day of Atonement as we are together in the midst of sheltering. These encounters of the in-between have the power to transform us. And Yom Kippur offers us this moment to stop and reflect. Yom Kippur is a pause from our already paused lives. This is a time to reconnect with ourselves, to clean up our messes, to say we're sorry, and to contemplate how we want to be in the world in the year ahead. I think it's safe to say that most of us don't have a goat or a cow. Our homes may feel full, our homes may feel empty. Unlike the folktale, we cannot just take our animals out of the house, but as we stand here in this pause, we can reorient ourselves. Yom Kippur is the invitation to clean out, to turn and to repattern our habits, to reimagine ourselves in the year ahead. When we reemerge from this sheltering and this white space, will we be more authentic and more grateful? Will we be more patient, more aware of the preciousness of our time together? Will we ever take other people or the world for granted? When Rabbi Zusha of Hanipol lay on his deathbed, his students came in and found him uncontrollably crying. They tried to comfort him by telling him that he was almost as wise as Moses and as kind as Abraham, so he would surely be judged well in heaven. He replied, "When I get to heaven, I will not be asked, 'Why weren't you like Moses?' or 'Why weren't you like Abraham?' They will ask, 'Why weren't you like Zusha yourself?'" Yom Kippur, this time, is an invitation for each of us to contemplate what we will leave in the world. Who am I? Have I been living to my fullest potential? Have I measured up to my highest value? What am I creating in this time? Am I waking up? There are many confessions and questions we share with ourselves today, as if on this day our lives really are hanging in a balance. We may not go soon, but when we reemerge from this sheltering, the world will not be the same. Whether by flood or by fire, by government or economic shifts, the world is changing. And my friends, so too are we. So I leave you today with a blessing as we continue to live in this world beyond our imaginings. May you find and name what you are grateful for. May you honor the ways in which you have stretched and created this year. May you make meaning of this in-between time. And may you be sealed in the book for a year of life, health, resilience, and good deeds. Gamar Chatima Tova.
Thank you so much, Elisheva, for those beautiful, contemplative, hopeful words to keep us on our journey today. And Irene, as always, y'all might not know that Irene just makes it up. She just improvises some music to come out of each sermon that matches the sermon's tone. So before we close, Judith Barral, our president, just has a few announcements to help us get through today and the following days, and then we'll have one song and we'll be off on our way.
Oh, that was beautiful. All right, so a few announcements. I will try and be brief. We will be having a beautiful sukkah this year, and that is a perfect remedy for our pandemic. There will be signups in the Tuesday's email, and you're encouraged to come with your household or others that you are sheltering with, and please enjoy your beautiful sukkah. Yoga Havdalah will be on Saturday, October 3rd with Rabbi Shaban and David Moreno. If you have never tried Yoga Havdalah, it's absolutely wonderful, and you just zoom right in, so it's beautiful. We have some Tikvah takeout dates. We have on October 4th, Dynasty Bistro has been added, and that is for both lunch and dinner, and that is part of our fundraiser, and a percentage goes back to our synagogue. So, and you could even take out dinner and come and get a slot in our sukkah. So, and also on the 13th, we have Panera in Walnut Creek from 4 to 8. For Sukkot, Kathy Eisen has organized a wonderful event for Thursday, October 8th from 6 to 7:30, and Sacred Women from the Biblical Past. And there will be some limited space in person, or you could also Zoom. Let's see, we have the debates will need to cause us to reschedule our important book group discussion for the book. So you want to talk about race with our very own Dr. Anna Corwin. That will be scheduled for a later date in October. The office will be closed for tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so that our clergy and our staff can maybe catch their breath before diving right in again. This afternoon, Micha and Avodah services begin at 4 p.m. Yisker, it's 5:30, and those will be on Zoom before we go back to YouTube with Neila at 6:30. And there will be the live stream of some folks coming into our beautiful sanctuary, and you could zoom into that if you like. And just a few thank yous. So a big, big thank you to the Contra Costa JCC that provided us a grant to help bring these amazing services broadcasted, and to our partners that are behind our sound and our screens. A very big thank you to Irene Young, Tina Solano, Alberto Hernandez, who have been with us for these months of recording and for these days. Huge thank you in making everything go just seamlessly. We are so grateful. There have been a whole troop of volunteers helping with bags, bagging the bags, delivering the bags, handing them out in the parking lot. Thank you to everybody who, with that effort, and it brought a little bit of fun and meaning into our homes this year. And while we were able to just turn on our computer, that has not been the case for our amazing staff who have been working tirelessly in Marks, Chanel Benamou, Kathy Jacobs, and Karen Smith. Thank you so much for all of the amazing hard work to make this all happen on these days. And let's see, thank you to Lisa Zeiler, who has been a creative partner to our rabbi for years now, and that is really just coming to beautiful, beautiful fruition in these times, and your music just has helped me so much through this period. Irene Jacobson on the piano. Also, when I hear Irene, I get grounded. I know what it is, and every year I hear something new. Ellie Sheva-Hervich for being our rabbinic intern this year. I have enjoyed some programs with her. There are many more. I hope to see you more, and I really appreciate your teaching. Thank you so much. And to our very own cantor and rabbi, Shaban, who's brought these beautiful services to all of us. And may next year we be able to break fast together. So those are my announcements. Shana Tova, everybody. Thank you.
Shana Tova, thank you so much, Judith. If you want to join us, just to clarify, if you want to join us for Mincha or Avodah or Yisker, the links are on our website. So if you have not yet registered, you just have to go to our website and click on register. It's very quick. And Mincha and Avodah are going to be extra alternative. We're going outside the box. Why not this year? So closing song, page 318, Hayom Te'amtzeinu, calling out for strength and blessing and kindness and goodness that we need so badly. Certainly the choir knows this. Maybe if we listen hard, we can hear them singing it off in the distance. Have an easy fast, everyone. We'll see you back either in person here for the walkthrough or on Zoom or YouTube later.